Here's what nobody tells you about running from your past. It doesn't matter how quiet you become, how invisible you try to be, because the moment someone tears up a photo of your dead mother and laughs in your face, every monster you buried claws its way back to the surface. Ethan Cole learned that the hard way. So did everyone at Franklin High. Before we begin, click subscribe, like this video, and tell me in the comment section where you are watching from. Your support helps us bring more thrilling stories, and trust me, you won't want to miss them. Now, let's continue. The mahogany hallways of Franklin High smelled like floor polish and teenage desperation. Locker doors slammed in rhythmic chaos, sneakers squeaked against linoleum. Voices overlapped in a symphony of gossip, laughter, and casual cruelty. And through it all, Ethan Cole walked like a shadow. Nobody noticed him. Not really. He was the kid who sat in the back row with perfect posture, answered questions in a voice so soft teachers leaned forward to hear him, and ate lunch alone with a dog-eared paperback for company. His glasses were always clean. His homework was always done. His bruises were always hidden. To the students of Franklin High, Ethan Cole was nobody. But in the blood-soaked alleys of South Philadelphia, in the smoke-filled back rooms where men spoke in whispers and died in silence, there was another name that made hardened criminals cross themselves: the Reaper. Ethan Cole, honor student, orphan, invisible boy, was a ghost story told in two worlds. In one, he was prey. In the other, he was the apex predator that even predators feared. And for 3 years, he'd kept those worlds separate until the day Tyrell Carter transferred in. The classroom fell silent when Tyrell walked through the door. He didn't walk. He swaggered, shoulders rolling with the confidence of someone who'd never lost a fight. 6'2", broad-shouldered, with a jawline that could cut glass and knuckles that had shattered bones. His varsity jacket hung open, revealing a gold chain that caught the fluorescent light. Even the way he chewed gum seemed aggressive. Mrs. Patterson, their exhausted English teacher, gestured weakly toward the class. "Everyone, this is Tyrell Carter. He's transferring from Lincoln Prep. Tyrell is quite accomplished in boxing. State champion, actually." A ripple of impressed murmurs swept through the room. Tyrell's grin was all teeth. "National champ, actually. But who's counting?" Laughter. Scattered applause. 3 girls in the front row suddenly became very interested in their posture. Ethan Cole, seated in the back corner by the window, kept his eyes on his notebook. His pen moved in steady, controlled strokes. Notes on The Great Gatsby. Analysis of symbolism. Anything to stay invisible. But his peripheral vision tracked every movement. Fighter's stance. Weight on the balls of his feet. Hands loose but ready. Scans the room like he's marking territory. Old instincts rising like smoke. Ethan forced them down. Mrs. Patterson scanned the room for an empty seat. "Why don't you sit, let's see, next to Marcus in the 3rd row?" "Nah." Tyrell cut her off, eyes already locked on someone. "I'll sit there." He pointed directly at Danny Chen, a skinny sophomore who'd made the mistake of sitting in the second-to-last row. Danny's face went pale. "But this is my seat." Tyrell didn't bother responding. He simply walked over, grabbed Danny's backpack, and tossed it into the aisle. Danny scrambled out of his chair like it was on fire. Mrs. Patterson opened her mouth, then closed it. The exhaustion in her eyes said everything. "I don't get paid enough for this." Tyrell dropped into the seat with a satisfied grunt, kicked his feet up on the desk, and scanned his new kingdom. His gaze landed on Ethan. Something flickered across Tyrell's face. Recognition, maybe, or just the instinct of a predator spotting something different. Ethan's stillness, his controlled breathing, the way he didn't flinch or look away but didn't challenge either. Tyrell's grin widened. Found you. Lunch period. The cafeteria roared with controlled chaos. Ethan sat alone at a corner table, earbuds in but no music playing. Just the illusion of disconnection. His tray held food he'd barely touched. Rubbery pizza, overcooked green beans, a bruised apple. He'd learned years ago that eating required lowering your guard, and lowering your guard meant vulnerability. Old habits died hard. Across the cafeteria, Tyrell held court. He'd claimed the central table, the territory of football players and social apex predators, and somehow made it his in less than 4 hours. He leaned back in his chair, one arm draped over the seatback, laughing too loud at his own jokes, while underclassmen orbited him like moons around a planet. Then Marcus Williams, a senior, built like a linebacker. The closest thing Franklin High had to an alpha, approached the table. The cafeteria went quiet. Marcus stood at the edge of Tyrell's newly claimed territory, arms crossed. "That's my seat, new guy." Tyrell didn't even look up from his phone. "Was your seat. Now it's mine. You got 3 seconds to move before—" Tyrell's hand shot out. Not a punch, just a palm strike to Marcus's solar plexus, precise and devastating. Marcus folded like a cheap lawn chair, gasping for air that wouldn't come. The cafeteria erupted in gasps and nervous laughter. Tyrell finally looked up, his expression bored. "You were saying—" Marcus, still wheezing, stumbled backward. His crew, 3 guys who'd probably never been in a real fight, moved aside like water parting. Dominance established. Tyrell's eyes swept the cafeteria, cataloguing reactions, marking future targets. They landed on Ethan, still sitting alone, still calm, still watching. Tyrell's grin returned. He stood, cracked his neck, and started walking. Ethan saw him coming. "Get up, walk away, don't engage." But his legs didn't move. Some part of him, the part that had once thrived in confrontation, that had built an empire on the principle of never back down, refused to run. Tyrell dropped into the seat across from him, uninvited. Up close, he was even more imposing, knuckles scarred from leather and bone, eyes sharp with the intelligence of someone who'd learned to read violence before reading books. "Sup, 4 Eyes." Ethan pulled out his earbuds slowly. "Can I help you? You got a name, or should I just call you Invisible?" "Ethan." "Ethan." Tyrell tasted the name like bad wine. "You know what I noticed about you?" "Ethan." "You're weird. You sit here every day, all alone, acting like you're too good for everyone. That some kind of superiority complex?" "I'm just trying to eat lunch." "Nah." Tyrell leaned forward, invading space. "You're trying to hide. I can always spot the ones who are hiding something. So what is it? You got a record? You a snitch? Or are you just a scared little bitch?" Around them, students had started to notice. Phones appeared. The social media vultures, always hungry for content. Ethan's voice remained flat. "I'm just trying to graduate and stay out of trouble." "Boring answer." Tyrell reached across the table and flicked Ethan's glasses off his face. They clattered onto the tray, one lens cracking against the plastic. Laughter rippled through the nearby tables. Ethan stared at the damaged glasses. His hands, resting on either side of his tray, didn't shake, didn't clench. They simply existed, neutral and still, the way a coiled spring exists before release. "Pick them up," Ethan said quietly. Tyrell's eyebrows rose. "Excuse me." "Pick them up. Apologize. Walk away." The cafeteria was fully watching now. Phones recording. This was the moment where the nerd either rolled over or got destroyed. Tyrell laughed, genuine amusement in his eyes. "You got balls, Four Eyes. Stupid tiny balls, but balls." He stood, towering over Ethan. "Tell you what, meet me after school, behind the gym. We'll see if that mouth of yours works as good when I'm breaking your teeth." He walked away to a chorus of "oh" and nervous laughter. Ethan slowly picked up his glasses, examining the cracked lens. His reflection was fractured, split down the middle. One half the quiet student, the other half something darker. A girl at the next table whispered to her friend, "Is he going to actually fight him?" Her friend responded, "He's going to get murdered." Ethan placed the glasses carefully into his pocket. "Not if I remember who I used to be, after school." The hallways emptied in waves, athletes to practice, stoners to parking lots, good students to libraries or jobs or homes where people actually asked about their day. Ethan walked toward his locker, alone as always. He'd almost made it out without incident. Then Tyrell appeared at the end of the hallway, flanked by 3 others. Marcus, ego bruised, hungry for revenge. Danny Chen, the kid whose seat had been stolen, now desperately trying to align with power. And a girl named Shanice, who filmed everything for her TikTok account. "Yo, invisible!" Tyrell's voice echoed off metal lockers. "You forget about our appointment?" Ethan stopped, turned slowly. "Count the exits, 2 behind them, 1 to your left, fire door to your right. Cameras in corners, blind spot near the janitor's closet." Old instincts flooding back like muscle memory. He pushed them down. "I don't want any trouble." "Too late for that." Tyrell stalked forward, pack mentality making him bolder. "You disrespected me in front of everyone. Now you pay the tax." They surrounded him, not quite touching, but close enough to cut off escape routes. Ethan's breathing remained steady. "This isn't worth it." "Let me decide what's worth it." Tyrell reached into Ethan's jacket pocket and pulled out a photograph, worn, creased, obviously carried everywhere, a woman with kind eyes and Ethan's smile. "Oh, is this your mummy?" Tyrell dangled it between 2 fingers. "She know her son's a little bitch?" Something changed in the air. Ethan's voice dropped an octave, stripped of politeness. "Put it back." "Or what?" Tyrell grinned at his audience, then, deliberately, slowly, tore the photograph in half. The sound was deafening in the empty hallway. Ethan's hands stopped trembling. They went completely still. His eyes, those quiet, forgettable brown eyes, shifted. The light in them changed, like watching a door open into a dark room where something patient had been waiting. "You..." Ethan's voice was barely above a whisper. "You don't want to do this." Tyrell laughed and tore the photograph again. Pieces fluttered to the ground like snow. "What are you going to do?" "Nerd. Cry." Ethan looked down at the scattered pieces of his mother's face. Then he looked up. And for just a moment, one breathless, frozen moment, Tyrell Carter saw something in Ethan Cole's eyes that made his boxer's instincts scream danger. But pride is a hell of a drug. Tyrell shoved Ethan hard against the lockers. "That's what I..." Ethan caught his wrist mid-push. Not blocked. Caught. Like snatching a fly from the air. Tyrell's eyes widened. "What the..." Ethan's other hand shot up, fingers pressed against specific points on Tyrell's throat, not choking, just applying pressure to the carotid with surgical precision. "Let go of me!" Tyrell swung wildly with his free hand. Ethan released him and stepped back, hands raised peacefully. But the damage was done. For 3 seconds, Tyrell Carter, national boxing champion, undefeated, feared, had been completely controlled by a nerd in a button-up shirt. Tyrell's face flushed with humiliation and rage. He wound up and threw a proper punch, everything he had behind it, technique and power and murderous intent. Ethan didn't dodge. He took the hit square on the jaw, head snapping to the side. Blood appeared at the corner of his mouth. But he didn't go down. He turned his head back slowly, blood on his lips, and locked eyes with Tyrell. That cold, patient, ancient stare. "Go home, kid," Ethan said quietly, "before you learn why you should." Then he turned and walked away, leaving Tyrell and his crew frozen in place. Shanice, still filming, whispered into her phone, "Did you guys see that? What the actual fuck was that?" The video would be viral by midnight. And in the dark corners of Philadelphia, in smoke-filled rooms and blood-stained basements, old soldiers would see it and recognize the eyes. The Reaper's back. Ethan's studio apartment was sparse, no decorations, no personality, just furniture that came with the place and textbooks stacked with military precision. He stood in front of the bathroom mirror, examining the bruise blooming on his jaw. His glasses sat on the sink, cracked lens reflecting fractured light. He stared at his own reflection. The face looking back was his, but also wasn't. There was something underneath now, pushing against the surface. Old muscle memory, old patterns. The part of him that knew exactly how to dislocate Tyrell's shoulder, collapse his knee, crush his larynx with 3 fingers. The part that had done exactly that, hundreds of times, to men far more dangerous. His hands started to shake, not from fear, from need. "No," he whispered to his reflection. "Not again. Never again." But his reflection seemed to smirk back, like it knew better, like it knew that monsters don't die. They just sleep. And Tyrell Carter had just kicked the cage. Ethan bent down and carefully picked up the torn pieces of his mother's photograph from his jacket pocket. He'd gathered every single fragment from the hallway floor. His mother's eyes, split across 4 pieces of paper, still looked at him with that same gentle worry she'd carried all her life. "Promise me you'll never go back to that world, Ethan. Promise me you'll be better than he was." "I promise, Mum." But promises, Ethan knew, were just words. And words didn't mean much when the world you'd left behind started pulling you back. He placed the torn photograph pieces on his desk, next to his homework, next to his carefully maintained mask of normalcy. Tomorrow he'd go back to school, back to being invisible, back to being nobody. But tonight, just for a moment, he let himself remember the weight of bandaged fists, the roar of underground crowds, the fear in men's eyes when they realized who they were facing, the power, the respect, the control, and the blood, always the blood. Outside his window, Philadelphia sprawled like a concrete jungle. Somewhere in those streets, his past was waking up. Old enemies, old allies, old debts. And tomorrow, a video would start circulating through very specific channels. A video of a nerd catching a champion boxer's wrist like it was nothing, taking a punch without flinching, and walking away with eyes that belonged to someone else entirely. By morning, the whispers would begin. "Did you see the eyes? That's not possible. The Reaper's been dead for 3 years. Dead men don't dodge like that. Call Marino. Tell him we found his ghost." Ethan Cole closed his eyes and tried to sleep. But in the darkness behind his eyelids, the Reaper waited, patient, hungry, inevitable. 3 years earlier, before Ethan Cole became invisible, before he learned to hide his hands and lower his eyes. He was something else. Something Philadelphia's underworld would never forget. His name was legend, his hands were weapons, and his story began with another photograph. One of a man who taught him that mercy was weakness and violence was survival. Before we continue, click subscribe, like this video, and tell me in the comment section where you are watching from. Your support helps us bring more thrilling stories, and trust me, you won't want to miss them. Now let's move on. Philadelphia, summer 2022. The warehouse on Delaware Avenue smelled like rust and broken promises. 16-year-old Ethan Cole stood in the center of a makeshift ring. No ropes, just a circle of broken men, betting broken money on which kid would survive the night. His hands were wrapped in dirty gauze, knuckles already split and bleeding from the previous 3 fights. Across from him, a man twice his size cracked his neck and grinned through missing teeth. "You sure about this, Vin?" the giant called out to the shadows. "Kid looks like he should be doing homework, not bleeding on my floor." From the darkness, a voice answered, smooth as expensive whiskey, cold as winter concrete. "The boy stays until someone puts him down. House rules." Vincent Marino stepped into the light, impeccably dressed, even in this rat-infested hellhole. Silver hair slicked back, 3-piece suit without a wrinkle, hands clean because he paid other people to get dirty. He looked at Ethan with the appraising eye of a man who saw weapons, not children. "Last chance to quit, Ethan. Walk away now, you go back to foster care. No shame in it." Ethan's response was to raise his fists. Marino's smile was proud and poisonous. "That's my boy." The giant charged. What happened next took 11 seconds. Ethan slipped the first punch, pivoted inside the giant's guard, and drove his elbow into the man's floating rib with textbook precision. As the giant gasped and doubled over, Ethan's knee met his descending face with the crack of breaking cartilage. The giant hit the concrete like a felled tree, unconscious before he stopped moving. The warehouse fell silent. Ethan stood over the body, chest heaving, blood from his split knuckles dripping onto the concrete in steady rhythm. Drip, drip, drip. The sound of his childhood ending. Marino began to clap, slow and deliberate. "Gentlemen, I believe we've found our new investment." Money changed hands. Bets settled. The giant was dragged away by his ankles. And Ethan Cole, orphan, survivor, weapon, learned the most important lesson Vincent Marino would ever teach him. Violence isn't the answer. It's the question. And the answer is always yes. The memories came in flashes, brutal and relentless. Ethan, 17, in an abandoned gym at 3 a.m. Hitting heavy bags until his hands bled, then hitting them more because Marino said pain was just weakness leaving the body. Ethan, 18, collecting debts in South Philly row houses, learning that broken fingers spoke louder than threats, learning to read fear the way other kids read textbooks. Ethan, 19, in underground fight rings across 3 states. Atlantic City, Baltimore, Pittsburgh. Building a reputation with fists and silence. They started calling him the Reaper because he fought like death itself. Patient, inevitable, emotionless. But the worst memory, the one that played on loop in his nightmares, was the warehouse massacre. 3 rival gang leaders, 1 neutral meeting ground, supposed to be peace talks. Marino had other plans. "Kill them all, Ethan. Leave no witnesses. Show Philadelphia who owns these streets." The gunfire. The screaming, the bodies, and Ethan, standing in the center of it all, hands wrapped in his signature white bandages, now soaked crimson, realizing he'd become exactly what his father died trying to escape. That was the night Ethan Cole disappeared, the night the Reaper died. Or so everyone thought. Marcus Iron Hayes sat behind a government-issue desk in a government-issue office, looking entirely too large for both. At 6'4" and 260 pounds of muscle, gone slightly to seed, he was the kind of man who made rooms feel smaller just by existing. He was also the only person in Philadelphia who knew Ethan Cole's real identity. Ethan sat across from him, the torn photograph pieces arranged on the desk between them like evidence at a crime scene. "Tell me you didn't hit him," Marcus said, voice heavy with the exhaustion of a man who'd seen this movie before. "I didn't." "Tell me you wanted to." Ethan's silence was answer enough. Marcus leaned back, chair creaking in protest. "You know what your problem is, Cole? You think you can outrun what you are. But I've been doing this job for 15 years, and I've learned something. Men like you don't get redemption. You get parole. And parole only works if you stay the fuck away from anything that reminds you who you used to be. He tore up my mother's photo. So, get a new photo." Marcus's voice softened slightly. "I know that's cold. I know. But that bully ain't the problem, Ethan. You are." Because the second you let him pull you back into that headspace, the place where disrespect means blood, you stop being the kid trying to graduate and you become the Reaper again. I took the hit. I walked away. But you caught his wrist first. Marcus leaned forward, elbows on the desk. "I trained you in county, remember? I know what that move means. You were half a second away from breaking his arm. Don't lie to me." Ethan looked down at his hands. Even now, even years later, he could still feel the phantom weight of the bandages. What am I supposed to do? Let him destroy everything I'm trying to build? Yes. Marcus's answer was immediate and uncompromising. That's exactly what you do, because the alternative is prison. Or worse, the alternative is Vincent Marino finding out his favorite weapon is still breathing. The name hung in the air like smoke. "Marino thinks I'm dead," Ethan said quietly. "Marino thought you were dead. Past tense." Marcus pulled out his phone and turned it toward Ethan. The screen showed a video. Shaky footage. High school hallway. Ethan catching Tyrell's wrist. That moment of perfect, terrifying control. And worst of all, Ethan's eyes. Cold. Calm. Predatory. The video had 47,000 views. Posted 3 hours ago. Ethan's blood went cold. "Where did you find this?" "Kid named Shanice posted it on TikTok. By tomorrow morning it'll be everywhere. And the people who matter, the people who remember the Reaper, they're gonna see it. Hell, they've probably already seen it." Marcus closed the phone. "Peace only works if you let the past stay buried, Ethan. You just dug it up with your own hands." South Philadelphia. Marino's Social Club. Same time. The back room of Vito's Pizzeria smelled like cigar smoke and old money. Vincent Marino sat at the head of a table surrounded by his lieutenants, men with hard faces and soft hands, the kind who gave orders while others pulled triggers. Carmen Vega, Marino's enforcer and heir apparent, scrolled through her phone with manicured nails painted blood red. "Boss, you need to see this." She turned the phone toward him. Marino took it, his reading glasses perched on his nose, giving him the appearance of a kindly grandfather rather than a man with 13 confirmed kills. He watched the video once, then again, then a third time, his expression unreadable. Finally, he removed his glasses and set them down with deliberate care. "Gentlemen, it appears a ghost has returned to Philadelphia." The room went silent. Carmen leaned forward. "You sure it's him? Kids wearing glasses, looks soft." "The eyes don't lie, Carmen." Marino's voice was soft, but carried the weight of absolute certainty. "I trained that boy myself, taught him how to see, how to move, how to kill. That's Ethan Cole. That's my Reaper." One of the lieutenants, a nervous man named Paulie, cleared his throat. "But boss, he's been gone 3 years. Why would he come back now? Why surface in some high school?" "He didn't come back." Marino smiled, and it was the smile of a shark scenting blood. "He's been hiding, playing normal, pretending to be civilized." He tapped the phone screen. "But we all know the truth. You can dress a wolf in sheep's clothing, but the first time someone threatens the flock..." He let the sentence hang. Carmen understood immediately. "You want me to bring him in? I want you to remind him where he belongs. Ethan Cole made me millions. He was going to inherit my entire operation before he got cold feet and ran away like a child." Marino stood, buttoning his suit jacket. "It's time he came home. It's time the Reaper remembered who made him." "And if he refuses?" Marino's expression hardened. "Then we remind him what happens to people who walk away from this family, permanently." Carmen smiled. She always did enjoy the permanent solutions. By midnight, the video had exploded. 200,000 views, then 500,000, then 1 million. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit. The algorithm loved violence. And this clip had everything. High school drama, mysterious underdog, that look in Ethan's eyes that made viewers feel like they were watching something dangerous. Comments flooded in. "Yo, who is this kid?" "That wasn't self-defense, that was dominance." "The way he caught that punch, I'm dead." "Those eyes, though, somebody's hiding something." But it was the comments in darker corners of the internet, encrypted forums, private Discord servers, places where violence was currency, that mattered most. "That's Philly Reaper. I'd bet my life on it." "Thought he was dead?" "Dead men don't move like that." "Marino's gonna have a field day with this." In his apartment, Ethan stared at his phone, watching his entire new life crumble in real time. Every share, every comment. Every person who looked at that video and saw past the glasses and the button-up shirt to the monster underneath. A text came through from Marcus. "Pack a bag. We might need to move you into protective custody." Another text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Tomorrow. Usual place. VM. Vincent Marino." The ghost of Ethan's past had found him, and somewhere across the city, in a dingy apartment with trophies gathering dust, Tyrell Carter scrolled through comments on his viral video, grinning at his newfound fame, completely unaware that he'd just painted a target on both their backs. The Reaper was awake, and Philadelphia was about to remember why they'd been so grateful when he disappeared. Franklin High had always had its hierarchies. Invisible borders drawn by popularity, athleticism, and social currency. But Tyrell Carter had redrawn the map in blood. 3 days after the hallway incident, he'd established a new order. Monday. He'd taken Kyle Morrison's limited edition sneakers right off his feet, leaving him to walk home in socks. Tuesday. He'd borrowed lunch money from 5 different freshmen, promising to pay them back someday, maybe. Wednesday. He'd cornered Jasmine Liu in the stairwell and deleted her entire college application essay from her laptop, laughing as she cried. By Thursday, Franklin High had learned a fundamental truth. Tyrell Carter took what he wanted, and the administration was either blind, complicit, or terrified. Teachers looked the other way. Security guards developed convenient blind spots. Principal Davidson gave speeches about conflict resolution, while students bled in bathrooms. Ethan watched it all from his corner seat, jaw still bruised from Tyrell's punch, hands gripping his desk until his knuckles went white. Not your problem. Stay invisible. Graduate. Disappear. Marcus's words echoed in his head like a mantra. But then Thursday afternoon arrived, and Tyrell found Olivia Price. Olivia Price was the kind of person who made the world feel less cruel by existing in it. She tutored struggling students for free. She brought homemade cookies to class on Fridays. She'd once spent her entire lunch period helping Ethan find his misplaced chemistry notes, refusing to leave until they'd checked every corner of the library. "You looked stressed," she'd said simply. Nobody should be stressed alone. She was also, unfortunately, beautiful, which made her a target. Ethan saw it happening from across the quad during lunch. Tyrell and 3 of his new disciples, Marcus, ego still bruised, loyalty purchased with fear, Danny Chen, transformed from victim to accomplice, and a heavy-set senior named Troy, who looked like he ate smaller students for breakfast. They'd cornered Olivia near the vending machines, forming a wall of bodies that cut her off from the populated areas. Ethan's hands stopped halfway to his sandwich. Not your problem, but his legs were already moving. "Just asking you to be nice," Tyrell was saying, voice dripping with false charm. "Come to my party Saturday. Wear something pretty. Make me look good in front of my people." Olivia's voice was steady but tight with barely concealed fear. "I appreciate the invitation, but I have plans. Cancel them." Tyrell moved closer, invading her space. "I don't like hearing no, Olivia. Makes me feel disrespected." "Then learn to live with disappointment." Her voice cracked slightly. "Please move." Troy laughed, a sound like grinding gears. "She's got mouth on her tea. Want me to teach her some manners?" Tyrell's smile vanished. "Yeah. I think we should—" She said no. Ethan's voice cut through the tension like a blade. 4 heads turned. Tyrell's face cycled through surprise, recognition, and then, delightfully, anger. "Well, well. 4 eyes found his spine." Tyrell gestured for his crew to spread out, creating a semicircle. "You got something to say to me, or are you just trying to impress your girlfriend?" "I'm saying leave her alone." "Or what?" Tyrell stepped forward, rolling his shoulders. "You gonna catch my wrist again? Do that weird eye thing? Newsflash, nerd. That was luck. And luck runs out!" Ethan positioned himself between Tyrell and Olivia, hands loose at his sides. Non-threatening, neutral, the way Marcus taught him in county. De-escalate. Always de-escalate first. "Just walk away, Tyrell. This doesn't have to happen." "You're right. It doesn't have to happen." Tyrell cracked his knuckles. "But I want it to happen. I want everyone here to see what happens when someone disrespects me twice." Phones materialized like magic. Students formed a loose circle, that ancient human instinct to witness violence overriding common sense. Shanice was already streaming. "Oh shit, y'all! Round 2 is about to go down!" Olivia grabbed Ethan's arm. "Don't! Please! It's not worth it!" Ethan looked down at her hand. Small, trembling slightly, nails bitten to the quick from stress. The hand of someone who still believed the world could be kind if you were kind to it first. He'd once believed that too. Then he'd met Vincent Marino. Ethan gently removed her hand and whispered, "Get behind me." Tyrell threw the first punch. A proper boxer's jab, fast and mean, aimed at Ethan's temple. It grazed his cheekbone by millimeters. Ethan had already moved, weight shifted, head tilted at an angle that turned a knockout blow into a whisper. Barely there. Barely felt. 3 years of trying to forget. 3 years of pushing it down. But the body remembers what the mind tries to bury. Tyrell wound up for the second punch. This one, a haymaker designed to end things messily. Ethan's training took over. He slipped inside Tyrell's guard, dropping his center of gravity, and deflected the punch with his forearm. Not blocking. Redirecting. Tyrell's momentum carried him forward, off balance, and Ethan was already behind him. This is where you snap the elbow. This is where you crush the knee. This is where you make him remember. But he didn't. He stepped back, hands raised peacefully. Stop, please. Tyrell spun, eyes wild with humiliation. You little... Troy charged from the side, all 250 pounds of him, meaty fists swinging. This time, Ethan didn't hold back. First move, Ethan ducked under Troy's wild haymaker and drove his palm into the bigger man's solar plexus. Precise strike, all the air leaving Troy's lungs in one whooshing gasp. Second move. As Troy doubled over, Ethan's knee came up and stopped 1 inch from Troy's descending face. Just stopped, hovering there like a frozen threat. Stay down, Ethan said quietly. Troy collapsed to his knees, gasping, defeated without actually being hit. 2 moves, 3 seconds. The quad went silent, except for Shanice's breathless narration. Oh my God, did you see that? Did everyone see that? Marcus and Danny backed away slowly, hands raised in surrender. Tyrell stood alone, chest heaving, pride warring with self-preservation. Ethan turned to face him, and for the first time, he didn't hide it. Didn't hide the thing that lived behind his eyes, the cold mathematics of violence, the part of him that knew exactly how to dismantle Tyrell Carter and everyone he'd ever loved. Don't make me do this, Ethan said, voice barely above a whisper. Walk away. Right now. We both survive. Tyrell's hands trembled, not from fear, from rage, from humiliation, from the unbearable weight of everyone watching him back down. But survival instinct is stronger than pride. He pointed at Ethan, hand shaking. This isn't over. Then he turned and walked away, his crew scrambling to follow. The crowd stood frozen until someone started clapping. Then another, then a dozen students, releasing tension through applause like they'd just witnessed a magic trick instead of controlled violence. Ethan ignored them. He turned to Olivia, who stared at him with wide eyes. Not quite fear, but something close. Recognition, maybe. The sense that she'd just seen past a mask she didn't know was there. You okay? He asked. She nodded slowly. Who are you? Nobody. Ethan picked up his backpack from where he'd dropped it. Just trying to graduate. He walked away before she could ask anything else, leaving Olivia standing in the quad, surrounded by phones still recording, still streaming, still uploading his secret to a world that would never let him forget. By 6th period, the video had 100,000 views. By dismissal, 500,000. By dinner time, it was trending nationally. The algorithm blessed it with perfect timing. High school drama, mysterious protagonist, that moment where Ethan's knee stopped an inch from Troy's face like a glitch in reality. Comments poured in faster than servers could handle. This dude is him. The way he moved, that's not normal. Someone said he's in witness protection. I'm hollering. Those aren't student moves, those are trained moves. Check his eyes at 023. That's not a teenager. That's a predator. But it was the comments in specific circles, encrypted forums where violence was business and business was good, that mattered. Confirmed. That's Reaper Cole. Philly OGs recognize the stance. Two-move takedown. That's signature Marino training. Boss is gonna lose his mind when he sees this. Question is, does the kid want to be found? Vito's Pizzeria. Back room. 8:47 p.m. Carmen Vega walked into Vincent Marino's office without knocking, a privilege earned through loyalty, brutality, and 7 years of being the hand that held the knife. She carried a tablet like it was evidence at a murder trial. Marino sat behind his mahogany desk, reading glasses perched on his nose, reviewing ledgers the IRS would never see. He didn't look up. This better be important, Carmen. I'm in the middle of... It's him. Marino's pen stopped mid-stroke. Carmen set the tablet on the desk, video already cued. Marino removed his glasses slowly, set them aside, and pressed play. He watched Ethan dodge. Watched him dismantle Troy with surgical precision. Watched that moment where the mask slipped and the Reaper looked out through a teenager's eyes. Marino watched it 3 times in complete silence. Then he smiled. It was the smile of a collector finding a lost masterpiece. The smile of a kingmaker discovering his deposed king still breathed. The smile of a man who'd just been given a second chance at building an empire. So, Marino said softly, my ghost lives. Carmen leaned against the desk, arms crossed. Want me to bring him in? Kids at Franklin High. Be easy to pick him up after school, have a conversation somewhere private. No. Marino's voice was thoughtful, strategic. No. Ethan spent 3 years hiding, 3 years pretending to be normal. If we simply drag him back, he'll run again the first chance he gets. Then what? Marino re-watched the moment where Ethan stopped his knee an inch from Troy's face. Mercy where violence was deserved. He's trying so hard not to be what I made him, Marino mused. Trying to be good. Civilized. He looked up at Carmen. We don't drag him back to our world, Carmen. We push his world into ours. We remind him that peace was always an illusion. Carmen's smile matched her boss's. You want me to make his life hell? I want you to make his life impossible. Marino stood, buttoning his jacket. Start with the bully, Tyrrell Carter. He's already pushing Ethan toward violence. Let's help him push harder. And the girl, Olivia? Marino paused. Leverage, always useful, but be subtle. Ethan's dangerous when he's protecting people. We learned that the hard way. He picked up the tablet again, studying Ethan's face frozen on screen. Welcome home, Reaper, he whispered. Whether you want to come or not. Ethan saw the Mercedes before he saw her. Black, immaculate, tinted windows that reflected the afternoon sun like obsidian mirrors. It sat in the faculty parking lot with the predatory patience of a spider in a web, entirely out of place among the dented Hondas and aging Toyotas that teachers could actually afford. He knew that car. More importantly, he knew what that car meant. Ethan diverted toward the side exit, pulling his hood up, becoming one shadow among many in the after-school exodus. Maybe if he moved fast enough, stayed invisible enough. Ethan Cole? The voice froze him mid-step, smooth, feminine, wrapped in false warmth like arsenic in honey. He turned slowly. Carmen Vega stood 20 feet away, dressed like she'd just left a corporate lunch instead of a crime syndicate. Tailored blazer, pencil skirt, heels that clicked against pavement like countdown timers. Her smile was perfect, the kind practiced in mirrors until it looked almost human. She held a coffee in each hand, steam rising like smoke signals. "I'm sorry," Ethan said carefully. "Do I know you?" Carmen's smile widened. "You look just like your father. Same eyes, same careful way of standing, like you're always calculating exits." She walked closer, heels clicking. Let's say I'm a family friend. Your Aunt Maria, if anyone asks. Can we talk? Just 5 minutes." Students streamed past them, oblivious. To them, this was just another awkward family pickup. Another embarrassing adult moment in the social minefield of high school life. Ethan's hands clenched in his pockets. "I don't have an Aunt Maria." "Exactly." Carmen extended one of the coffees. "Black, no sugar, just like you used to take it at the social club, remember? After training sessions." The memory hit him like a fist. 16 years old, knuckles bleeding, Vincent Marino offering him coffee and calling it a man's drink. Carmen standing in the corner, watching, always watching. "I don't drink coffee anymore," Ethan said. "Shame. It's still hot." Carmen took a sip from her own cup, eyes never leaving his face. "Your Uncle Vincent misses you terribly. Talks about you all the time. Where's my boy? When's he coming home? It breaks his heart, really." The coded language was clear. Marino knows. Marino wants you back. "This is your only warning. I don't have an Uncle Vincent either. Memory problems run in families, I suppose." Carmen set both coffees on the hood of a nearby car, territorial marking, claiming space. "Let me refresh your memory. 3 years ago, you left family dinner without saying goodbye. Very rude, very hurtful. Your uncle's been worried sick." Translation: You disappeared. You broke the oath. There are consequences. Ethan glanced around. Students everywhere, witnesses, safety in crowds. But Carmen followed his gaze and smiled wider. All these children, so young, so fragile. She pulled out her phone, scrolled casually. "This one's pretty. Olivia Price, right? Tutors math on Tuesdays, volunteers at the animal shelter on weekends, takes the 47 bus home alone every day at 3:45 p.m. Ethan's blood went cold. "Don't." "Don't what?" Carmen's voice remained cheerful. "I'm just making conversation. Your uncle would love to meet your friends, especially the ones you risk your neck protecting." She leaned closer, voice dropping. "Come home, Ethan. Sit down with Vincent. Have a real conversation. That's all he wants." "And if I refuse?" Carmen's smile finally dropped, replaced by something reptilian. "Then your uncle will be very disappointed. And when Vincent Marino gets disappointed..." She let the sentence hang. "Well, you remember what happened to the last person who disappointed him, don't you? Your father made excellent life insurance money, I hear." The world narrowed to a pinpoint. Traffic sounds faded. Student chatter became white noise. All Ethan could hear was the rushing of blood in his ears and the memory of his father's closed casket. "You're lying," he whispered. "My father died in a crossfire, random violence." "Random?" Carmen tasted the word like wine. "Sure, let's call it that." She straightened, brushing invisible lint from her blazer. "Anyway, family reunion, this Saturday, 8 p.m. You remember where. Come alone, come willing, and we'll just talk. Old times, no pressure." She started walking back to the Mercedes, then paused. "Oh, and Ethan? That video of you playing hero? It's been shared in very specific circles. People who remember the old you. People who don't forgive. You've got about 72 hours before someone less friendly than me comes calling." She slid into the Mercedes with practiced grace. The engine purred to life. Expensive, powerful, inevitable. As the car glided away, Ethan saw her window lower slightly. Her final words drifted back. "Welcome home, Reaper." Marcus's apartment smelled like old coffee and new regrets. Ethan sat on the threadbare couch, head in his hands, while Marcus paced the narrow space like a caged bear. The parole officer had traded his government uniform for a worn t-shirt and sweatpants, but the weight of authority remained. "Carmen Vega," Marcus said for the third time. "Carmen fucking Vega approached you in broad daylight. At your school. She pretended to be my aunt. She could have pretended to be the goddamn Pope. Point is, Marino sent his top enforcer to invite you back." Marcus stopped pacing, faced Ethan directly. "You understand what that means, right? That's not a request. That's a velvet-covered threat." "I know what it means." "Do you?" Marcus's voice rose. "Because last time I checked, you were the one who testified against Marino's operation. You were the one who agreed to disappear in exchange for reduced charges. You think he forgot? You think he forgives?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "She said my father wasn't random. She implied Marino—" "Of course Marino killed your father." Marcus's bluntness hit like a hammer. "How else do you think he recruited you? Classic mob playbook. Create the wound, then offer the bandage. Make you hate the world so you're grateful for the monster who takes you in." The words confirmed what Ethan had suspected for years, but never wanted to believe. His father's death, his recruitment, his entire life with Marino, built on a lie. "I can't go back," Ethan said quietly. "Then you're at war." Marcus sat down heavily. Turning down Vincent Marino's invitation isn't like declining a party. It's a declaration. It means you're not his anymore. It means you're enemy. "I was never his. You were his weapon. There's a difference." Marcus leaned forward. "Listen to me carefully. You've got three options. 1, you run. New city, new name, new life. I can make some calls, get you relocated by Monday. And leave Olivia? Leave everyone at Franklin to Marino's retaliation? Option 2, you go to the meeting. You hear him out. Maybe he just wants closure. Maybe he wants his Reaper back." Marcus nodded slowly. "Yeah. Which brings us to option 3. You stay, you refuse, and you accept that staying means protecting everyone around you from a war you started 3 years ago when you walked away." Ethan looked at his hands. Clean now. Unmarked. The hands of a student instead of a killer. But beneath the surface, he could still feel the phantom weight of bandages, the memory of blood that never quite washed away. "What would you do?" he asked. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "When I was your age, I was in the same position. Different city, different boss, same choice. I chose to fight. Lost everything. Spent 5 years in Leavenworth. Lost my wife. Lost my daughter's childhood." He met Ethan's eyes. "But I kept my soul. And some days, that's enough." "Some days?" "Other days, I wish I'd just run." Philly Boxing Academy, downtown, same evening. Tyrell Carter hit the heavy bag like it owed him money. Jab, cross, hook, each punch punctuated by the memory of humiliation, the nerd catching his wrist, the crowd watching him back down, the video with 5 million views and comments calling him soft, calling him fake, calling him nothing. "You're telegraphing your right," his coach called out. "Tighten up." Coach Danny Reeves was old-school Philly. Scarred knuckles, cauliflower ears, the kind of man who'd fought in basements before YouTube made violence mainstream. He'd trained 3 state champions and 2 Olympians, and he didn't tolerate weakness. Tyrrell threw another combination, anger making him sloppy. Coach Reeves caught the bag mid-swing. "Stop! You're fighting angry." "I am angry." "Anger makes you stupid. Stupid gets you knocked out." Reeves studied his protégé with calculating eyes. "This about that video? The nerd?" Tyrrell's silence was answer enough. Reeves sighed, pulled out his phone, scrolled through something. "You know what your problem is, T? You think you're a big fish, state champion, some local respect. But you're swimming in a kiddie pool. What's that supposed to mean? It means there are bigger fights. Real fights. Underground circuits where champions are made and pretenders are broken." He turned his phone toward Tyrrell. "Fights where one night's purse is more than you'd make in a year of sanctioned bouts." The screen showed a flyer. "The Fog. Invitation only. Saturday night." Tyrrell had heard rumors. Every serious boxer had. Underground matches. No refs, no rules. Just 2 fighters and a circle of men with more money than morality. "That's illegal," Tyrrell said, but his voice lacked conviction. "It's entrepreneurial." Reeves pocketed the phone. "And it's how real fighters prove themselves. But you're not ready. You let some nerd in glasses get in your head. You'd get destroyed." The words stung exactly as intended. "Get me in," Tyrrell said immediately. "Get me in, coach. I'll prove I'm ready. I'll prove I'm not some joke for people to laugh at." Tyrrell's hands clenched. "I'll prove I'm the real thing." Reeves studied him for a long moment. Then, slowly, he nodded. "I'll make a call. But understand something. These people don't play. You step in that ring, you better be ready to hurt someone. Really hurt them." "I'm ready." "We'll see." Reeves pulled out his phone again, started typing. "One more thing. The man who runs the circuit. Vincent Marino. You know that name?" Tyrrell shook his head. "Good. Keep it that way. Show up, fight hard, collect your money, and forget everything you see. That's how you survive." Tyrrell barely heard him. All he could think about was stepping into that ring, proving himself, making everyone who laughed at him, everyone who shared that video, everyone who thought he was nothing, making them all remember his name. He didn't know he was stepping into Ethan Cole's world. He didn't know Vincent Marino already knew exactly who he was, and he definitely didn't know that his prideful choice was a move in someone else's game, a game where pawns didn't survive to see the end game. Ethan started erasing himself on Friday morning. He deleted his social media. Not that he'd posted anything, but ghosts left no digital footprints. He withdrew from his part-time job at the campus library with a mumbled excuse about family issues. He stopped sitting in his usual seat at lunch, stopped taking his usual route to class, stopped existing in any predictable pattern. Marcus called it preemptive evasion. Ethan called it survival. By Friday afternoon, he'd become a rumor at Franklin High. Students whispered, did he transfer? Did he get expelled? Did his family move? Only Olivia seemed to notice the difference between disappearing and hiding. She found him during 7th period, tucked into the far corner of the library behind outdated encyclopedias where nobody ever ventured. He had his hood up, earbuds in, trying to become furniture. "You're avoiding me," she said, sliding into the chair across from him. Ethan didn't look up from his textbook. "I'm studying." "You're hiding." Her voice was soft but insistent. "Ever since that thing with Tyrrell, you've been different. More different than usual." "I'm fine." "You're lying." Olivia leaned forward, forcing him to meet her eyes. Ethan, I saw what you did. The way you moved. That wasn't lucky. That was none of your business. The words came out harsher than intended. Olivia flinched, but didn't retreat. You protected me. That makes it my business. I shouldn't have. Ethan finally looked at her, and the weight in his eyes made her breath catch. I should have walked away. Should have let Tyrell do whatever he wanted. Because now... He stopped himself. Now what? Now you're safer if you forget I exist. He stood, gathered his books, and walked away before she could respond. Left her sitting alone in the empty corner, confused and hurt and unknowingly marked by proximity to a ghost who refused to stay dead. The text came at 9:47 p.m. We need to talk. Behind the old Jefferson factory. Come alone. Tyrell. Ethan stared at his phone screen, jaw tight. Marcus's voice echoed in his head. Don't go anywhere alone. Don't engage. Don't give them an opening. But the second text arrived 30 seconds later. Or I tell everyone at school about your aunt, Carmen. Wonder what the cops would think about her visiting you. Blackmail wrapped in teenage bravado. Tyrell thought he was being clever, thought he'd found leverage. He had no idea someone had given him the script. Ethan grabbed his jacket, checked the time. 10 p.m., late enough for empty streets and convenient darkness, and walked into the trap with his eyes open. Because sometimes the only way out was through. The Jefferson factory had been abandoned for a decade, its skeleton of rusted metal and broken windows a monument to Philly's industrial corpse. The parking lot was cracked asphalt and scattered debris, lit only by a single flickering streetlight that made shadows dance like living things. Ethan approached cautiously, every instinct screaming trap. He was right. They came from 3 directions simultaneously. Tyrell from the front, Marcus and Danny from the sides, Troy blocking the rear exit. 6 others emerged from the factory's shadows, all carrying phones with cameras already recording. Smile, nerd, Tyrell called out, grinning like a wolf. Tonight, everyone sees what happens when you embarrass T-Rex Carter. Ethan stopped walking, hands visible and empty. You don't want to do this. Oh, I really do. Tyrell cracked his knuckles, playing to his audience. See, I've been thinking. Those videos made you famous, made me look weak. Time to correct the narrative. Tyrell, listen. Nah, you listen. Tyrell stepped forward, flanked by his crew. Tonight, you take your beating like a man. We film it. You apologize. And maybe, I let you keep your teeth. The circle tightened. 9 against 1. Cameras recording. No witnesses except accomplices. Carmen Vega's handiwork, precise as surgery. Ethan looked at each face, calculating odds, mapping vulnerabilities. Then he did something that surprised everyone. He lowered his hands, stopped resisting, accepted it. Okay, he said quietly. Make it quick. The first punch came from Troy, a sledgehammer right hook that caught Ethan's ribs and drove the air from his lungs. He didn't fight back. The second came from Danny, a wild haymaker that split Ethan's lip. He didn't fight back. Tyrell stepped in, delivering a precise jab-cross combination, proper form, real technique, that snapped Ethan's head sideways. Still, he didn't fight back. Let them break you. Stay down, stay invisible. This is the price of peace. Blood ran from Ethan's nose, his vision blurred, his body screamed at him to move, to defend, to survive. But he stayed still, took it, paid the toll. "Is that all you got?" Tyrell taunted, breathing hard, fists bloody. "Where's that scary dude from the videos? Where's the guy who made Troy piss himself?" Another punch. Another. The circle closing in like a noose. Then, cutting through the violence, a voice. "Stop!" Everyone froze. Olivia Price stood at the edge of the parking lot, phone in hand, face pale with horror. She'd followed Ethan. Of course she had. Because that's what good people did. They cared when they shouldn't. "Olivia, run!" Ethan started to say. Troy moved toward her, grinning. "Looks like we got a witness. Want me to grab her tea?" "Yeah," Tyrell said, still focused on Ethan. "Make sure she doesn't—" Ethan's hand shot out and caught Troy's wrist mid-reach. The temperature dropped 10 degrees. "Don't," Ethan said, voice stripped of every human warmth. "Touch her." Troy tried to pull away, couldn't, tried to punch with his free hand. Ethan caught that wrist too, then broke both with surgical precision. The snap echoed like gunshots. Troy's scream shattered the night. What happened next took 1 minute. 0-2. Marcus charged from the left. Ethan's elbow met his nose with the crack of breaking cartilage. Marcus dropped, unconscious before he hit asphalt. 0-0-7. Danny swung a piece of rebar. Ethan caught it mid-swing, redirected the momentum, and drove the makeshift weapon into Danny's knee. Ligaments tore. Danny collapsed, shrieking. 0-15. 3 others rushed him as a group. Ethan moved like water between them. Palm strike to the first one's throat, knee to the second's solar plexus, spinning back fist to the third's temple. All 3 down in different directions. 0-28. 2 more hesitated. Ethan didn't. He closed distance in 2 steps, delivered a front kick that folded the first one like cardboard, then a ridge hand strike that sent the second spinning into the factory wall. 0-43. The last one ran. Smart choice. 0-58. Tyrell stood alone, all bravado evaporated, staring at carnage he'd orchestrated but couldn't control. 1:00. Ethan turned to face him. The Reaper looked out through Ethan Cole's eyes. Patient, inevitable, utterly calm. Tyrell's hands trembled. I didn't mean—" Ethan walked toward him slowly, each step deliberate. Blood dripped from his split lip, his torn knuckles. But he moved like a machine, unfazed, unrelenting. "You wanted to see who I really am?" Ethan's voice was gravel and broken glass. "Congratulations." Tyrell swung desperately. National champion form, everything his coach taught him, everything he'd won trophies for. Ethan caught his fist mid-air, held it, then slowly, deliberately, began to squeeze. Tyrell's bravado crumbled into genuine terror. "Please, I'm sorry, please don't." Ethan released him and delivered 1 punch. Clean, precise, lights out. Tyrell crumpled like a puppet with cut strings. The parking lot fell silent, except for groaning and sirens in the distance. Olivia must have called 911. Headlights cut through the darkness. The black Mercedes glided into the parking lot like it owned the night. Carmen Vega stepped out, surveying the carnage with an art critic's appreciation. 9 bodies in various states of consciousness, blood on concrete, phones scattered like fallen leaves, their cameras capturing everything. She walked through the wreckage until she stood before Ethan, who remained perfectly still, fists still clenched, chest heaving. "Beautiful work," Carmen said softly. Efficient, controlled. Vincent will be so pleased. She leaned closer, voice dropping to a whisper meant only for him. Welcome home, Reaper. Ethan met her eyes, and for a moment the monster receded, replaced by something more human. Exhaustion, resignation, grief. That name's dead, he said quietly. Carmen smiled. Funny? From where I'm standing, it's the only thing about you that's alive. Police sirens grew louder. Red and blue lights painted the factory walls. Carmen stepped back, melting into shadows with practiced ease. Saturday night, 8 p.m. Vincent's expecting you. Don't make him send another invitation. She was gone before the first squad car arrived. Ethan stood alone in the parking lot, surrounded by the bodies of the people he'd destroyed, watching Olivia give her statement to arriving officers, her horrified glances cutting him deeper than any punch. The security camera mounted on the factory wall blinked red, recording everything. By morning, the footage would leak. By afternoon, it would go viral. By evening, Vincent Marino would watch it on loop, smiling like a proud father, and Ethan Cole, honor student, quiet kid, ghost who'd tried so hard to stay buried, would have to accept the truth. You can't kill the Reaper. You can only decide what he kills next. By Saturday morning, Philadelphia's underworld was on fire. The leaked security footage spread through encrypted channels like a virus. 47 seconds of Ethan Cole dismantling 9 attackers with the cold efficiency of a professional. No wasted movement. No hesitation. Pure distilled violence. In a Fishtown warehouse, the Santoro crew watched it on loop while cleaning guns. That's the Reaper, Angelo Santoro said, rewinding to the moment Ethan broke Troy's wrists. Same stance, same precision. Marino's ghost is back. His lieutenant, a scarred man named Vince, disagreed. Reaper's been dead 3 years. This is some kid who learned to fight. Kids don't fight like that. Angelo froze the frame on Ethan's eyes. Flat, calculating, empty of everything except mathematics. That's a killer's stare. I've seen it before. He set down his coffee. If Marino's bringing the Reaper back, it means he's planning something big. War, maybe. Expansion. So what do we do? Angelo was quiet for a long moment. We prepare, stock up, fortify, and we wait to see if the legend bleeds. Similar conversations echoed across the city. In South Philly, the Delgado family held an emergency meeting. In Kensington, the Irish crew started moving weapons. In North Philly, independent operators began choosing sides or planning exits. The name Reaper Cole moved through the streets like wind before a storm, whispered in corner stores, muttered in prison yards, typed in careful code on phones the police couldn't trace. After 3 years of silence, Philadelphia's most dangerous ghost story had returned, and everyone was preparing for the haunting. Marcus found Ethan at the abandoned gym where they used to train, a condemned building in Gray's Ferry that the city kept forgetting to demolish. The heavy bag still hung from rusted chains, and the ring in the center had rope so frayed it looked like it might disintegrate if someone breathed on it wrong. Ethan was hitting one of the bags. No gloves, no wraps, just knuckles against leather until both bled. Thud, thud, thud. You're gonna break your hands, Marcus said from the doorway. Ethan didn't stop. They've been broken before. Marcus walked closer, footsteps echoing in the empty space. I've been getting calls all morning, cops, feds, even some old associates from my previous career. Everyone wants to know the same thing. Is the Reaper really back? Thud, thud, thud. What did you tell them? I told them, I'm just a parole officer supervising a high school kid with a clean record. Marcus stopped at the edge of the ring. But we both know that's a lie now, don't we? Ethan finally stopped hitting. His knuckles were raw, bleeding, wrapped in fresh pain. I didn't want this. Doesn't matter what you want. That video's been seen by every gang leader, every enforcer, every ambitious sociopath in this city. You think you can just go back to being invisible after that? I can try. You can't. Marcus's voice hardened. Listen to me, Ethan. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking you can just keep your head down, finish school, disappear again. But here's the truth nobody wants to hear. You can't outrun a name carved in blood. Ethan looked at his bleeding hands. So what am I supposed to do? Go back to Marino? Become his weapon again? I'm saying you need to accept reality. You're not a student who can fight. You're a fighter pretending to be a student, and pretending just got 9 people hospitalized. They attacked me. They were going to hurt Olivia. I know. Marcus's voice softened slightly. And that's the problem. You've got something to protect now, someone who matters, which means Marino's already won. Ethan's jaw tightened. What does that mean? It means leverage. It means the moment you care about someone, they become a target, a tool, a way to control you. Marcus stepped into the ring, old ropes groaning. 3 years ago, you had nothing to lose. That made you dangerous. Now you've got a reason to compromise, and Marino knows it. The words settled like stones in Ethan's chest. Saturday night, Marcus continued. You going to show up at Marino's meeting? I don't know. Then let me make it simple. Show up, you're back in his world. Don't show up, he'll make you wish you had. Either way, your quiet life is over. Marcus turned to leave, then paused at the door. One more thing. The Santoro crew is mobilizing. So are the Delgados. Word on the street is everyone thinks Marino's planning something big with his resurrected enforcer. You've started a war just by existing. He left Ethan alone in the empty gym, surrounded by ghosts of violence past and future. Olivia was waiting outside his apartment when he got home. She sat on the steps, arms wrapped around her knees, looking small and determined. When she saw him approach, bruised, bleeding, exhausted, she stood. Don't, Ethan said immediately. Don't ask. Just go home, Olivia. I went to the police station this morning, she said quietly. Gave my statement, told them everything I saw. Good, that's good. Now please. They showed me your file. Ethan stopped walking. Sealed juvenile record, witness protection, 3 years of perfect behavior, and then... She gestured at his face. Last night. They wouldn't tell me details, but one detective said something before they shut him up. He said, "We thought the Reaper was a myth." Silence stretched between them like a chasm. Who are you? Olivia's voice cracked. Really? Ethan looked at her. This girl who brought cookies to class and helped strangers find lost homework and believed the world could be kind if you tried hard enough. This girl who represented everything he'd wanted to become. You should go, he said again. Not until you tell me the truth. So he did. They sat on the steps of his building while traffic hummed past and the city indifferently rolled on, and Ethan Cole told Olivia Price everything. His father's murder, Marino's recruitment, the training, the fights, the bodies. By the time I was 19, I'd killed 3 people, he said, voice stripped of inflection. Not in self-defense, not by accident. I was sent to kill them, so I did. Olivia's hands trembled. Why? Because I was good at it. Because Marino made me believe it was the only thing I could be good at. Ethan pulled up his sleeves, revealing scars she'd never noticed. Knife wounds, bullet grazes, the topography of violence. This one's from a broken bottle. This one's from a rival enforcer who got lucky. This one, he touched a puckered scar near his collarbone. This one I gave myself, the night I decided I couldn't do it anymore. Ethan. I made a deal with the DA. Testimony in exchange for witness protection and a clean slate. Marino's organization lost half its leadership because of me, and I swore, on my mother's grave, on every soul I'd taken, that I would never kill again. Never be that person again. Tears ran down Olivia's face. Last night, I broke bones, hurt people, but I didn't kill anyone. His voice cracked. I could have. Every instinct said to end them permanently. But I stopped. I stopped. Is that supposed to make it better? No. Ethan looked at his scarred hands. Nothing makes it better. I'm just trying to explain why I can't be in your life. Why being near me makes you a target. Why... Olivia grabbed his hand. He flinched like she'd struck him. I'm scared, she said quietly. I'm terrified, actually. But you saved me. Twice. And you're trying so hard to be good, even though the world keeps punishing you for it. She squeezed his hand. That has to count for something. It doesn't. Not in Marino's world. Then maybe we need to change the world. Ethan wanted to believe her. Wanted to believe redemption was possible, that monsters could become men, that blood could wash away. But he'd lived too long in darkness to trust the light. Mercy Hospital. Private room. Same time. Tyrell Carter sat in his hospital bed, right arm in a cast, ribs wrapped, pride shattered into pieces smaller than his broken bones. The television played the security footage on loop, local news, national news, social media deep dives. Everyone analyzing how a high school student had destroyed 9 attackers. Frame-by-frame breakdowns, expert commentary, viral memes. And Tyrell, at the center of it all, reduced to a cautionary tale. National boxing champion knocked out by a nerd. His phone buzzed with notifications he couldn't bear to read. Sponsorships withdrawn. College scouts backing away. His boxing career, the only thing that made him somebody, cremated in 60 seconds of security footage. A knock at the door. Coach Reeves entered, but he wasn't alone. Vincent Marino followed, dressed in a charcoal suit that cost more than Tyrell's parents made in a year. He carried flowers and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Tyrell Carter, Marino said warmly, setting the flowers on the bedside table. I've heard so much about you. National champion, bright future. Unfortunate setback. Tyrrell's voice was hollow. Who are you? A friend. Someone who understands what it's like to be humiliated, to have everything taken by someone who doesn't deserve it. Marino sat in the visitor's chair like it was a throne. That boy who did this to you, Ethan Cole, he's done the same to me, took what was mine, disappeared like a coward. I don't want revenge, Marino finished. Oh, I think you do. I think you lie awake at night replaying that video, imagining all the ways you could have fought differently, won differently, mattered differently. Tyrell's hands clenched. What do you want? To give you what you want. Redemption. Pride. Revenge. Marino leaned forward. That boy isn't just a student. He's the Reaper. Most feared fighter in Philadelphia's underground. And he's coming back whether he wants to or not. I can't beat him. You saw what he... Not alone, but with training? Resources? My organization behind you? Marino's smile widened. Let me ask you something, Tyrell. You want your pride back? Your reputation? Your future? Yes? Then bring me the Reaper's head. Beat him publicly. Destroy the myth. And I'll give you everything: money, power, a real career in my organization. Marino stood. Or stay in this bed, heal up, and spend the rest of your life as the punchline to Ethan Cole's legend. Tyrell looked at his cast, his broken body, his shattered pride. What do I have to do? Marino's smile became genuine, the smile of a fisherman feeling the hook set. Just trust me. The text came from an unknown number at 6:47 p.m. Saturday. Change of plans. Vincent wants neutral ground. West Philadelphia Warehouse, Pier 53. Just you and one witness. We talk, we leave. No violence. CV. Marcus read the message over Ethan's shoulder, jaw tight. It's a trap. Obviously. Ethan stared at the screen. But if I don't show, Marino comes for me. For Olivia. For everyone. So, we call the cops. Federal protection. Witness relocation. Real this time. And how long before Marino finds me again? How many people get hurt while I run? Ethan pocketed his phone. I'm going. You're not. Like hell I'm not. They argued for 20 minutes. Marcus pulled rank, pulled logic, pulled every card he had. But Ethan had already made the decision the moment Carmen sent the text. Some roads only led one direction. At 7:30 p.m., they left for Pier 53. Neither of them noticed the rusted Honda Civic that followed 3 cars back, driven by someone who'd been watching Ethan's apartment all day. Pier 53 had been abandoned since the shipping industry died. A massive concrete skeleton with broken windows and graffiti-tagged walls. The kind of place where screams got swallowed by river sounds and nobody asked questions about blood on the loading docks. Marcus's car rolled to a stop 50 yards from the warehouse entrance. He killed the engine, but kept his hand on the keys. Last chance to back out, he said. Ethan opened the door. You should stay here. We've had this conversation. I'm your parole officer and your friend. Where you go, I go. They approached together, footsteps echoing on cracked asphalt. The warehouse door hung open like a mouth. Inside, a single light illuminated the center of the space. Theatrical, deliberate, designed to make them feel exposed. Carmen Vega stood in that circle of light, arms crossed, wearing tactical black instead of her usual corporate armor. "Punctual," she called out. "Vincent appreciates punctuality." Ethan and Marcus stopped at the threshold. Every instinct screamed trap, but turning back now meant admitting defeat. "Where is he?" Ethan asked. "Watching." Carmen gestured to the shadows. "He wanted to see if you'd actually show. If the boy who ran away 3 years ago finally grew a spine." "I'm here. Let's talk." "Talk." Carmen smiled. "Sure. Let's talk about loyalty, about family, about what happens to people who betray Vincent Marino." She snapped her fingers. Lights blazed from all directions. Industrial floods mounted on scaffolding, turning the warehouse into an arena. And in that sudden illumination, Ethan saw them. 20 men, maybe more. Surrounding the space like wolves circling prey, armed with bats, pipes, chains, and guns. So many guns. "You said neutral ground," Marcus growled. "I lied." Carmen's smile widened. "Welcome home, Reaper." The first gunshot came from the rafters. Suppressed pistol, professional aim, meant to wound, not kill. The bullet caught Marcus in the shoulder. He spun and dropped, crying out in pain. Ethan dove behind a concrete pillar as gunfire erupted from multiple directions. Not to kill him. Not yet. To pin him, to trap him, to break him slowly. "Marcus!" Ethan crawled toward his friend, who clutched his bleeding shoulder. "Get out!" Marcus gasped. "Run!" "Nobody's running." The voice came from the warehouse entrance. Andre Ace Walker burst through the door like a small hurricane, 5'9", 160 pounds, all wiry muscle and manic energy. He held a tire iron in one hand and his phone in the other, already streaming. "World Star!" Ace screamed, then dove behind a dumpster as bullets chased him. "Ethan! What the fuck, man?" "Ace? How did you—" "Followed you! Been watching your place since that video dropped. Figured your dumbass would do something heroic and stupid." Ace popped up long enough to throw his tire iron at the nearest gunman's head. Direct hit. The man dropped like a stone. "And I was right!" More gunfire. Concrete chips exploded around them. Carmen's voice echoed through the warehouse. Touching. "The Reaper has friends. Vincent, you want them all dead? Or just the main attraction?" From somewhere in the darkness, Vincent Marino's voice answered. Calm, paternal, disappointed. "All of them, Carmen. Can't have loose ends telling stories." The gunmen closed in, emboldened by numbers and Marino's blessing. Ethan pulled Marcus behind better cover, while Ace provided chaotic distraction, throwing pipes, screaming insults, moving like a caffeinated rabbit. "We need to move," Ethan said. "Back exit, through the loading bay." "They've got it covered," Marcus grunted, blood soaking through his shirt. "We're boxed in. Then we fight our way—" "You fight!" Marcus interrupted. "Ace and I, we're civilians. You're the Reaper. So stop pretending and be him." The words cut deeper than bullets. Ethan looked at his hands. Clean, unmarked, still pretending to be innocent. Then at Marcus, bleeding because of him. At Ace, pinned down behind a dumpster, loyalty overriding survival instinct. At the men with guns, closing in like a noose. I tried peace. Something broke inside him. Or maybe something that had been broken finally healed wrong. Ethan stood, stepping out from cover. "Ethan, no!" Marcus reached for him. Too late. The first gunman fired center mass. Ethan was already moving. Lateral slide, impossible angle, muscle memory from years of dodging death. He closed the distance in 3 strides, disarmed the gunman with a wrist lock, and used the man's own weapon to pistol whip him unconscious. 2 more rushed him. Ethan dropped low, swept the first one's legs, then drove the pistol's grip into the second's temple. Both down in under 4 seconds. Carmen watched from her elevated position, smiling. There he is. There's my Reaper. Ethan moved through the warehouse like a ghost through a graveyard. Disarm, disable, move, strike the throat, break the knee, continue. No wasted movement, no hesitation, pure efficiency. Years of suppressed instinct flooded back with terrible clarity. His body remembered what his mind had tried to forget. He was halfway through the ambush squad when he heard Ace scream, "Ethan!" Time fragmented into slow-motion horror. Ace running toward him. Marcus on the ground, trying to stand. A gunman on the catwalk, rifle aimed, finger on trigger. The barrel pointed at Ethan's head. Ace throwing himself forward. The shot echoed like the end of the world. Ace's body jerked mid-run. Once, twice, 3 times, he crashed into Ethan, momentum carrying them both to the ground. Ethan caught him, felt the warm wetness spreading across his friend's chest. "No," Ethan whispered. "No, no, no." "Got you? Out of the way?" Ace coughed, blood on his lips. That's what friends do.
Right? Ace, stay with me. Should have charged. Admission for this.
Ace's laugh turned into a wet cough.
Would have made. Bank.
His eyes, bright, manic, alive, began to dim. No, Ethan repeated, voice breaking. You don't get to do this. You don't get to. Tell Marcus. I want Hawaiian pizza. At my funeral. Ace smiled one last time.
And tell that Olivia girl you like her. Idiot.
The light went out. Andre, Ace, Walker went still in Ethan's arms. Blood pooling on concrete. 23 years old and dead because loyalty mattered more than survival. The warehouse fell silent. Even the gunmen stopped, sensing something fundamental had changed. Ethan laid Ace down gently, closed his staring eyes, then stood. When he looked up, his face was empty of everything except purpose. Carmen felt it first. The shift in atmosphere, the moment prey became predator. Oh, she whispered. Oh, shit. What happened next would be whispered about in Philadelphia's underworld for years. Ethan Cole disappeared. The Reaper took his place. The first man died with a crushed larynx before he could scream. The second fell to a knife taken from the first, throat opened, efficient, silent. The third managed to fire his gun. The bullet hit empty air. Ethan was already inside his guard, snapping his neck with textbook precision. No rage, no emotion. Just cold, mathematical violence. Carmen emptied her pistol at him. Every shot missed. Ethan moved like smoke, like he could see bullets before they flew. He closed the distance between them in heartbeats. Wait! Carmen raised her hands. Vincent wants to talk.
We can negotiate.
Ethan's fist stopped an inch from her throat. He held it there, trembling with restraint, while Carmen's eyes went wide with primal terror. Tell Marino, Ethan said, voice devoid of humanity, that the Reaper is coming, not for money, not for power, for blood. He released her and turned to Marcus, who'd managed to prop himself against a wall. The parole officer stared at the carnage. 8 bodies, all breathing but broken beyond repair. The surgical precision, the cold efficiency. Jesus Christ, Marcus whispered. You really are him. Ethan knelt beside him, covered in blood that wasn't his, eyes still flat and empty. I tried peace, he said quietly, then, softer, almost a prayer. I tried. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had called the cops. Ethan picked up Ace's body with gentle reverence and carried him toward the exit, leaving bloody footprints on concrete. Behind them, Carmen Vega radioed Marino. Boss, we've got a problem. The Reaper's back, and he's not coming home. He's coming for war. In his penthouse office, Vincent Marino smiled. Good, he said. Finally, we can stop pretending. Point of no return. Reached. Ethan has fully embraced the Reaper. Peace is dead. War has begun. The headline hit the Philadelphia Inquirer Sunday morning. Warehouse massacre. 8 hospitalized in apparent gang war. But it was the underground channels that told the real story. Encrypted forums exploded with eyewitness accounts. Security footage leaked from nearby cameras. Carmen's own men, terrified and awed, whispered what they'd seen. The Reaper moved like death itself. Didn't kill anyone, but made them wish he had. Broke 8 men in 3 minutes and walked out carrying a body like it was sacred. By Monday, every criminal organization in Philadelphia knew Ethan Cole wasn't hiding anymore. He was hunting. Monday, 2:17 a.m. South Street, gambling den. 6 of Marino's men ran a high-stakes poker game in a basement beneath a Chinese restaurant. Money laundering operation, pulling in 50 grand weekly. Ethan entered through the kitchen, moving like a shadow. The first guard never saw him coming. Sleeper hold, unconscious in 8 seconds. The second reached for his gun. Ethan broke his wrist, caught the falling pistol, ejected the magazine, and tossed both pieces into opposite corners. The poker players looked up from their cards. "Vincent Marino sent you here," Ethan said calmly. "Leave now." "Don't come back! Tell him the Reaper is collecting debts!" They ran, leaving $47,000 on the table. Ethan didn't take a dollar, just set the money on fire and walked out. Message sent. This isn't about profit, it's about punishment. Tuesday, 11:43 p.m. Port Richmond Chop Shop. Stolen cars, stripped and sold for parts. Marino's operation moved 200 vehicles monthly. Ethan arrived alone. 12 men with weapons, confined space, no civilians. He gave them one chance. Walk away. They chose violence. What followed was surgical brutality. Dislocated shoulders, shattered kneecaps, broken ribs. Ethan moved through them like a scalpel through flesh, targeting joints and nerve clusters, disabling, not killing. Each man left alive to deliver the message, the Reaper is coming. By the time police arrived, the chop shop was empty except for groaning bodies and a single sentence spray-painted on the wall. "Marino, we need to talk." Wednesday, 3:56 a.m. Fishtown Pharmaceutical Warehouse, Opioid Distribution Center, Marino's most profitable operation. Ethan didn't fight anyone here, didn't need to. He simply called the DEA, provided exact coordinates, then disappeared before the raid. 20 arrests, $3 million in seized product. A major operation crippled overnight. By Thursday morning, Marino's empire was bleeding from a dozen wounds, not fatal, but painful, deliberate, personal. Philadelphia's underworld watched in fascination and terror. The Reaper had returned, but he'd changed. He wasn't killing. He was proving he could kill, then choosing mercy. Somehow, that was more terrifying. Franklin High. Thursday afternoon. Tyrell Carter returned to school with his arms still in a cast and his pride in a coffin. Students parted for him like water, but not from respect, from pity. The viral videos had branded him forever as the guy who got destroyed by a nerd. He found his locker tagged with a crude drawing, a stick figure with a crown getting knocked out by a smaller figure with glasses. Underneath, "Bow to the Reaper." Tyrell's hands shook as he tried to scrub it off. "Hey, T-Rex!" He turned to find Danny Chen, arm in a sling, face still bruised. "Did you know?" Tyrell's voice cracked. "About Ethan?" Danny nodded slowly. "Found out after. Did some digging. That nerd we bullied." He pulled out his phone. Showed Tyrell an article from 3 years ago. Teen enforcer testifies against Marino crime family. The photo showed a younger Ethan in court. Same eyes, different context. Tyrell read in horror. Known only as the Reaper, the unnamed minor was allegedly responsible for dozens of assaults and 3 suspected homicides while working as an enforcer for Vincent Marino's organization. "We bullied a mob enforcer," Tyrell whispered. "We tore up his dead mother's picture and thought we were tough." "Yeah." Danny's voice was hollow. "We're lucky he was trying to be better. Because the old Ethan? We'd be dead." Tyrell's phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Come to Vito's Pizzeria tonight. 8 p.m. Vincent wants to discuss your future. CV." They want me to fight him, Tyrell said quietly. Marino's people. They want me to go into the underground and fight the Reaper. You gonna do it? Tyrell looked at his cast, remembered the moment Ethan caught his punch with one hand, remembered those cold eyes that had seen things no high school student should ever see. I don't know how to say no anymore. Marino's penthouse office. Same evening, Vincent Marino stood at his floor-to-ceiling window, watching Philadelphia glitter below like scattered diamonds. Behind him, Carmen Vega poured whiskey with hands that no longer shook. She'd learned to hide fear years ago. 8 operations hit in 4 days, Marino said calmly. Millions in losses, 23 men hospitalized, and the police are suddenly very interested in our legitimate businesses. Ethan's systematic, Carmen replied. He's using everything you taught him. I taught him well. Marino smiled without warmth. Too well, perhaps. But every student eventually challenges the master. It's natural. So what do we do? Marino turned to face her. We use the bully, Tyrell Carter, hungry, desperate, moldable. We train him, enhance him, then pit him against Ethan in the fog. Public spectacle. The Reaper versus the boy who wants redemption. Ethan will kill him. Probably, but that's not the point. Marino sipped his whiskey. The point is to make Ethan reveal himself completely, make him cross the line from restraint to murder in front of witnesses. Once he kills again, he stops being the tragic hero. He becomes what he always was, a monster. Carmen nodded slowly, but behind her eyes, gears turned. She'd served Marino for 7 years. Watched him build an empire, watched him grow old, sentimental, attached to a ghost named Ethan Cole. Weakness, and weakness was opportunity. Later that night, from a burner phone in a bathroom stall, Carmen sent a text to Ethan's number. Marino's alone tonight, penthouse suite, Ritz-Carlton, security light. You want him? Come take him. A friend. Then she sent a second text, this one to Angelo Santoro. Reapers hitting Marino's penthouse tonight. Ritz-Carlton, be there with your crew, clean up whoever survives. CV. Carmen stared at her phone, smiled, and flushed both SIM cards. By tomorrow, either Marino or Ethan would be dead, maybe both, and she would be the last one standing. 11:47 p.m. Ritz-Carlton, Philadelphia. Ethan stood across the street, hood up, watching the luxury hotel's entrance. Marcus had tried to stop him. Olivia had begged him not to go. Even the ghost of Ace's voice whispered, "Don't do this, man!" But some roads only led forward. He crossed the street and entered the lobby. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, the kind of opulence that made violence seem impossible. The concierge looked up. "Can I help?" Ethan walked past without stopping, heading for the service elevator. Security moved to intercept. 2 guards, professional, alert. "Sir, you need to—" Ethan's movement was economical. Palm strike to the first guard's solar plexus. Nerve cluster squeeze on the second's shoulder. Both down, gasping, alive. He pressed the button for the penthouse. The elevator rose in silence, broken only by his breathing. Ace died because of Marino. Your father died because of Marino. Every life you've destroyed traces back to Marino. The doors opened to a private hallway, plush carpet, soft lighting. 2 more guards flanking double doors. They reached for weapons. Ethan was faster. First guard, disarm, wrist lock, throw into wall. Unconscious. Second guard, dodge the punch, counter with elbow strike to temple, down. 3 seconds, 2 bodies. Ethan stood before Marino's door, knuckles bleeding from impact, chest heaving. He could walk away. Call the police.
Let justice be legal instead of personal. But legal justice puts you in witness protection and Marino in a penthouse. He kicked the door open. The penthouse suite was empty, staged. No Marino, no furniture. Just an open space with floor-to-ceiling windows showing Philadelphia's skyline. And 10 armed men stepping out of shadows. Not Marino's crew. Different colors, different faces. Santoro family soldiers. "Congratulations, Reaper," one of them said, raising his gun. "You walked right into—" Ethan moved. What followed was controlled chaos. Ethan disarmed the first shooter, used his body as a shield against bullets from the others, dropped him unconscious and rolled behind a support column. Gunfire chewed through drywall. Count the shots. 3 shooters, left side, 2 on right. Distance, 15 feet. Cover, minimal. Old training, old instincts, muscle memory written in blood. He grabbed a fallen pistol, checked the magazine. 7 rounds. You swore never to kill again. Ace died because you hesitated. Choose. Ethan stepped out from cover. First shot, warning, past the lead shooter's ear, gave him a chance. The man kept firing. Second shot, shoulder, disabling, screaming, not dying. Third and fourth, 2 more shooters, both leg shots. They'd live. Fifth, the gun itself shot from a hand, ricochet wound survivable. The last 2 dropped their weapons and ran. Ethan stood alone in the penthouse, surrounded by wounded men who'd lived to fear him. He dropped the pistol and walked to the window, looking out at the city that had made him and broken him and refused to let him go. Behind him, one of the wounded Santoro soldiers gasped, "You could have killed us all." "I know," Ethan said quietly. "Then why?" Ethan touched the window glass, his reflection staring back. Bloodied, exhausted, still trying to be someone his mother would recognize. "Because I'm not him anymore," he whispered. "I'm not the Reaper. I'm just Ethan." But Philadelphia wasn't listening. And Vincent Marino, watching through a hacked security feed from his real location, smiled. "Oh, my boy," he said softly. "You can say that all you want, but we both know the truth." The trap had been sprung, the war had escalated, and tomorrow it would all come to an end. The text came at 2:34 a.m. "You've made your point. Now let's finish this like men. My real office, alone, no tricks, just you, me, and the truth. VM." Below it, an address Ethan knew by heart. Marino's original headquarters, the penthouse office where he'd been trained, where he'd learned to fight, where Vincent Marino had transformed a grieving boy into a weapon. Marcus, recovering in his hospital bed with a shoulder full of stitches, grabbed Ethan's wrist when he tried to leave. "It's another trap." "Probably." Ethan gently removed Marcus's hand. "But this ends tonight, one way or another." "Then I'm coming with—" "You can barely stand." Ethan's voice softened. "Stay here. If I don't come back, tell Olivia I tried." He left before Marcus could argue, leaving his parole officer alone with dread and helplessness. The building stood in Old City. Pre-war construction, brick and iron, the kind of place that had seen Philadelphia's transformation from industrial powerhouse to struggling metropolis and back again. Ethan entered through the front door. No stealth. No pretense. The elevator operator, an old man who'd worked for Marino for decades, simply nodded and pressed the button for the top floor. "He's been waiting for you," the old man said. 3 years he's been waiting." The elevator climbed in silence. When the doors opened, Ethan stepped into a hallway lined with photographs. Marino's empire through the decades. Black and white images of handshakes and construction sites and men in suits who'd built Philadelphia's underworld brick by bloody brick. And there, near the end, a photo of 16-year-old Ethan standing beside Vincent Marino, both smiling, teacher and student. Before you knew what he'd taken from you. The office doors stood open. Ethan walked through. Vincent Marino stood at the window, silhouetted against Philadelphia's skyline. The city glittered below like a kingdom made of light and broken promises. He didn't turn when Ethan entered. "I built this city," Marino said quietly. "Not the politicians, not the developers. Me. Every brick, every deal, every body that needed burying. I made Philadelphia into something that matters." "You made it a graveyard," Ethan replied. "Same thing." Marino finally turned, and in the dim light he looked old, truly old, the weight of decades pressing down on shoulders that had once seemed invincible. "You know why I asked you here? To kill me, or try to apologize." The words hung in the air like smoke. Ethan's hands clenched. "Apologize. Your father, Thomas Cole, good man, honest bookkeeper. He found discrepancies in my accounts, small things, barely noticeable. But he was thorough. He was going to the FBI. Marino walked to his desk, opened a drawer, pulled out a file folder yellowed with age. He tossed it toward Ethan. Photographs spilled out, surveillance shots of Ethan's father meeting with federal agents. He was going to destroy everything I'd built, take food from the mouths of 100 families who depended on my organization. So I made a choice. Marino's voice remained steady, clinical. I ordered the hit, made it look like crossfire in a gang war, random violence. Tragic. Ethan's vision blurred with rage. And then you took me in. And then I took you in. Marino nodded. Shaped you, trained you, made you into the most feared enforcer in Philadelphia's history. You were supposed to be my legacy, Ethan. My son in all the ways that mattered. You murdered my father. I removed an obstacle. Marino opened another drawer, this one containing a single pistol, loaded, safety off. He placed it on the desk between them. And now I'm giving you the chance I never gave him. Choice. Ethan stared at the gun. Finish what I started, Marino continued. Kill me. Take my empire. Rule this city the way you were meant to. Or walk away again and spend the rest of your life wondering if you're a coward or a saint. There's no empire anymore. You're finished. Am I? Marino smiled. The police are investigating, yes. But I've got judges, lawyers, politicians in my pocket. I'll be free in 6 months. And when I am, I'll come for you. For Olivia. For everyone you've ever cared about. Unless you stop me right now. He gestured to the gun. Be the Reaper one last time. Ethan reached for the gun. Marino lunged. What followed was brutal and intimate. Two men who knew each other's rhythms, each other's weaknesses, fighting in a space too confined for technique, too personal for restraint. Marino threw the first punch, right hook, decades of street fighting behind it. Ethan slipped it, countered with a body shot that drove air from Marino's lungs. Marino grabbed a letter opener from his desk, slashed wild. Ethan caught his wrist, twisted, the blade clattering away. They crashed through the desk, scattering papers and photographs, rolled across broken glass, traded blows without art or elegance, just violence stripped to its essence. Marino's knee to Ethan's ribs, crack of bone, white-hot pain. Ethan's elbow to Marino's jaw, teeth and blood. They broke apart, both gasping, both bleeding. Marino laughed, crimson staining his teeth. There he is. There's my Reaper. I'm not your anything, Ethan growled. They collided again. Ethan's training versus Marino's experience. Youth versus cunning. The student versus the master. In the end, youth won. Ethan got behind Marino, locked in a chokehold that cut off blood to the brain. Marino struggled, clawed, tried every escape he'd ever taught. None of them worked. Ethan held on until Marino's body went limp, then released him. The old man collapsed, gasping, defeated. Ethan picked up the fallen pistol, stood over Vincent Marino, aimed at his head. "Do it!" Marino wheezed, staring up the barrel. "Prove you're strong enough." Ethan's finger rested on the trigger. 3 pounds of pressure. That's all it would take, for Ace, for your father, for every life this man destroyed. His hand trembled. For 3 years you've tried to be someone else, someone better. But maybe Marcus was right. Maybe you can't outrun blood. Marino smiled. You can't do it. You're too weak, too soft. I made you a killer, but you want to be a... You don't get to make me a monster twice, Ethan said quietly. He lowered the gun. Marino's smile vanished.
What? You took my father. You took my childhood. You took years of my life. Ethan ejected the magazine, cleared the chamber, tossed both pieces out the window. But you don't get to take who I choose to be. Police sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Someone had called them, probably Carmen, hedging her bets, or maybe Marcus from his hospital bed. You're making a mistake, Marino said. I'll be out in 6 months. I'll come for... Then I'll be ready. Ethan walked toward the door, then paused. But I won't be the Reaper. I'll be Ethan Cole, and that's enough. The elevator doors opened to reveal Marcus, one arm in a sling, supported by 2 police officers. Tell me you didn't, Marcus said. I didn't. Marcus's exhale was relief and pride mixed together. Then you finally graduated. Behind them, federal agents flooded into Marino's office. Evidence they'd been building for years, combined with Ethan's testimony and the chaos of the past week, was enough. Vincent Marino would be arrested, tried, convicted, and Ethan Cole would be free. 3 months later, the community center in South Philly smelled like sweat and determination. Ethan stood in front of 20 teenagers, boys and girls from rough neighborhoods, kids who'd seen too much violence, who carried anger like weapons because nobody had taught them another way. Self-defense isn't about winning fights, he said, demonstrating a basic wrist escape on a volunteer. It's about not needing to fight. It's about control. A girl in the back raised her hand. But what if someone's bigger, stronger? What if you have to fight? Ethan looked at her, really looked, seeing himself at 16, angry and lost and desperate for someone to tell him violence wasn't the only answer. Then you fight, he said simply. But you choose how you fight. You choose whether to disable or destroy. You choose whether to be the monster or the person who stops monsters. He glanced at the window, where Olivia watched from outside, smiling. Marcus stood beside her, arm healed, looking proud in a way parole officers rarely got to feel. In the back corner, almost invisible, a figure in a hood watched the class. When Ethan's eyes found them, they nodded once and disappeared into the afternoon crowd. One of Marino's old crew, still watching, still remembering. The streets hadn't forgotten the Reaper, but they'd learned he'd changed. After class, as Ethan locked up, a kid no more than 15 approached. Nervous, hood up, hands in pockets. You really him? The kid asked. The Reaper? Ethan looked at this child standing where he'd once stood,
at the crossroads between violence and something better. "I was," he said. "But that name's retired." "Why?" Ethan thought about Ace, dying with a joke on his lips, about his father, killed for doing the right thing, about all the bodies he'd left broken but breathing, the choice to disable instead of destroy. "Because peace isn't silence," he said finally. "It's choosing what not to kill." The kid nodded slowly, not quite understanding, but maybe, starting to. As Ethan walked home through streets that once whispered his name in fear, Philadelphia's evening traffic hummed around him. Somewhere in a maximum security prison, Vincent Marino would be eating dinner from a tray. Somewhere in the city, Carmen Vega was probably planning her next move. And somewhere in a graveyard in North Philly, Andre Ace Walker's headstone read, "He laughed, he fought, he chose loyalty over survival. Some sharks never stop swimming." Ethan stopped by the grave like he did every week, placed fresh flowers, and whispered the same words. "I'm still swimming, Ace. Still choosing." Above him, the city he'd once ruled through fear now just lived. Indifferent, eternal, full of people who'd never know the quiet kid who taught self-defense had once been their nightmare. And that, Ethan thought, was exactly how it should be. The Reaper was dead. Long live Ethan Cole. Ethan turned to leave the cemetery when his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Then curiosity won. "Hello?" Silence. Then a familiar voice. Older, tired, but unmistakable. "Ethan Cole." His blood went cold. "Marino, you're supposed to be—" "In prison. I am." Vincent's laugh was dry, bitter. 25 to life. No parole. You won, kid. You actually won." "Then why are you calling?" A long pause. The sound of prison noise in the background. Shouts, metal doors, the symphony of confined men. "To tell you I'm proud," Marino said quietly. "You became something I never could. Stronger than your worst instincts. That takes balls I never had." Ethan's throat tightened. "I'm not looking for your approval." "I know. That's why you earned it." Another pause. "Take care of my city, Reaper. Keep it safer than I ever did." The line went dead. Ethan stared at his phone for a long moment, then smiled. Small, genuine, free. He typed a response and sent it to the prison's general number, knowing Marino would somehow get it. "It's not your city anymore. It's theirs. And his name is Ethan." He pocketed his phone and walked into the Philadelphia sunset. Just another kid trying to make it home before dark. Behind him, carved into Ace's headstone beneath the epitaph, someone had added a final line in fresh marker. "P.S. The nerd won." Did Ethan's story hit different? Was that twist about his father darker than you expected? Think you'd make the same choice with that gun in your hand? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story had you hooked from quiet nerd to most feared man in Philly, smash that like button and subscribe so you never miss another story where the underdog is actually the apex predator. Hit the notification bell because next time we're bringing you a tale about a girl everyone thought was crazy until her imaginary friend started leaving bodies. Trust me, you don't want to miss it.